Hi everyone, turn 79. So short thing is we decided to call it. This game's huge. Lots of people have gone AI, and so we're going to be wrapping up here. I did get my throne claim here by Hawaiian Noises. I continue to do my harassment thing. I don't think any of these battles were too interesting. Yeah, Van Roos fucking with Rugajo's Bloodslave production. Vampire doing vampire things. Oh, there was one battle that was interesting, yeah. Another thug. Lilith. Uruk continuing to send troops into the meat grinder. Thug. Yeah, so here in Ung Baloth, I have a Spectre decked out here with quickness and a scepter and regen and all that stuff. This custom install microwave ovens. And so he gets surrounded like normal. And he's just whacking away at them. His fatigue is quite manageable. And since he has 0 encumbrance, he's just taking his time swatting them down. Every so often, a battlefield-wide spell goes up. He takes chip damage from time to time, but it's no big deal. Still hanging in there. There's this fire elemental trying to get at him, which he has some fire resistance, yeah, 10, so that'd be hard to actually do much to him. There's this Carrion Beast over here, which has trample. New contenders keep running up. And you see he got pushed around a bit by that Minotaur, but eventually he took care of business without taking too much damage. And look at that, he just jumped all the way over here. Because Air Elemental, size 3 trampled him at size 2. He has shock vulnerability, but it still didn't do very much damage because 3 versus 2 is not a big size difference. So now he's over here. And he's just back to doing what he does. And now, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. So the point is that he got pushed around throughout the battlefield quite a bit by tramplers, but there were never enough on him at once. Where'd he go? There he is. And like when you get trampled and pushed, it just crowd surfs you over to an open square. So that's how he just zooms all the way across the battlefield like that. But because he's not like inundated with tramplers, he's able to regen up before they catch up to him. So that's a reminder, like obviously the AI wouldn't think of this, but when you are dealing with dudes like this, if you're looking to trample as a solution, then you don't want non-tramplers getting in the way of the people who are supposed to get the job done. So he just continues to swat away. I won't bore you with the rest of the battle. The sum total is that he doesn't actually die. He takes out 311 dudes, although some of them were summoned skeletons. But turn timer hits and he decides to call it a day. Ashdod versus Vanarus. I didn't remember that Ashdod also got Hashmals, but I guess they do. Sent in a bear to fuck with Banderlog and nothing happened. Conquered this fort. Actually had a decent number of casualties, although they were primarily spawns and lions. And then events. Barbarians are coming. Lilith. Immigration. Some gems. And some wounding. Light Hills over here, so this Archdevil's gonna storm the castle. At this point, we've got about 70 devils here, which, what is actually in there? 129 dudes, but a lot of them are pretty crappy. There's a chance that I could beat it with what I have here this turn, but I'm just going to have all these guys get into position over here, and we'll throw in a bunch next turn if that actually happens. Lots of patrolling, starvation, etc. So yeah, that's the picture of this turn. Like I said, we're gonna call it, so I'm not sure how much of the results we'll actually be able to see here. We're probably not going to have another turn, so let's go ahead and review how this game went. Let's start with the score graph. The only other score graph I have is relay. Obviously, like, Rugajo has an elite number of provinces. But there's that fort's steady climb there. Income stayed pretty constant, and that was a big problem for me. Like, ultimately, I didn't have enough money. And part of that was stationary expansion. Part of that was just a huge amount of unrest from, like, I wasn't managing the unrest for my blood hunting properly. So that's something that I need to get better at. Gem income, meh. This was fine. Research slowed to a crawl, and that's a direct function of me not having enough money. You can see relay here for comparison. Like, even at the end of the game, when you look at my research, this is turn 79 on slow research. This is all I have. I should have had more 8s and a 9 or 2. Rugajo had drain 3, and they still managed like 8 or 9 and everything. Which granted isn't a fair comparison because they own literally a third of the world, but still, like, I could have done more research. And part of my problem, so there were a few parts of my problem. One was I forgot to cast Blood Fecundity. Oh wow, it was actually about to run out. I forgot to cast Blood Fecundity in my capital and other high income provinces for a while, and so I was leaving a lot of money on the table. I recruited too many Gog Reavers. Gog Reavers are fantastic troops, but they're also expensive as balls, and so just getting that many was a poor use of funds. I don't regret recruiting all of these hunters. At the end, I didn't actually have that many hunters. It looks like a lot in this province, but that's where the most of them are. We've got scattered ones here and there. Ideally, I would have had more sages who are my good researchers, but the hunters are, like, the hunters give me free spawn, and you do need actual troops in this game as well. And then there's always going to be just, like, less research done by a blood nation because doing blood hunting siphons some of your research. The other thing that I was missing was I wasn't getting a lot of boosters. I spent a lot of mage turns recruiting fire drakes. You saw that I had a farm going up there, and fire drakes were effective versus Asphodel, don't get me wrong. Like, they killed way more than their number. They're terrifying to undead, but I could have done with having fewer fire drakes and more lanterns. I could have also made more blood familiars. These little guys here. 3+3 research isn't a lot, but it's a nice cheap way to get more research going. What else? I should have been using more thugs versus Asphodel. It was a mistake to fight Asphodel, but I mean, like, if Asphodel had stayed human controlled, or the AI could have just decided to fight me. So like, I'm not going to count that one against me because like I don't have full control over it regardless. But the super combatants, both like 2/3 of my god and dudes like this, where was that? Yeah, there's this Spectre here that just took out like 300 guys without burning a sweat. That should have been a bigger part of my strategy here, just to deal with these limitless hordes of chaff. The other thing that I could have done for fighting Asphodel, which would also have been a good idea, is research Evocation 7 for Firestorm, which I can easily cast, and just like burn all that shit. So the result was that like I ended the Asphodel fight basically in the same spot that I started it. Actually a little bit worse because they took this fort from me and I never took it back. So that was kind of a waste. The fight versus Banderlog was overall pretty successful. They did not have a good strategy for fighting me. I had a giant battle here that I think my plan came together pretty well. And then fighting Calum, that went pretty well also, like just figuring out what they were doing with their thunder strikes and gearing out some thugs to combat that very directly. They could have then responded to that with air elementals, and that would have challenged me to come up with something else. But also I got all these devils here, and devils are a great way to mess with Calum as well. And certainly like getting surprised backstabbed by Calum after also having to fight Banderlog and still being busy with Asphodel, like there was a reason that I was slowed down there. So big takeaways for me: use better thugs and more thugs. Drakes are fun, but I made too many of them. Make more imp familiars. What else? Fewer reavers, more researchers. Remember to cast Blood Fecundity, and manage unrest better. As you might have seen from my other playthrough of Ind, I'm still kind of learning the right way to play a Blood Nation and exactly how often I'm supposed to blood hunt and what the trade-offs are. So that's just a work in progress. It is what it is. Diplomacy, there's only so much I could do. Like, Bird Nation backstabbing you is very difficult to plan for because you don't even get warning by seeing troops massing in your area. And Banderlog like literally wouldn't talk to me, so there's nothing I can do about that. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Overall, this was still like the epic experience that I went into expecting. It was kind of sad to, like, just by the nature of this game, I didn't really interact with most of the world. Like, Tianqi was already dead by the time that I would have gotten there. Same, like, I talked to Nabah briefly, but they just went AI. Talked to Ashdod, but then they went AI as well. Myrnyan, Ulm, Fanarus, Abyssia, etc. Like, all of that was just... I had some incidental contact with them, but not really any. And then out west with, like, Is and Iru and all of the, like, Jotunheim and stuff like that, like, definitely did not talk to those folks just because they were too far away. That's something that I probably could have it would have been at least fun to do, is to send more scouts out there. As you see at the end, I have some scouts like prepping to make the long journey over there. Realistically, if I sent scouts out at like turn 30, maybe just now I'd be able to see what was happening in France or Britain, and that would be if they hadn't gotten killed on the way. So that covers it for this. The giant game of DomeM, turn 79, signing off for now. I'll be recording another series before too long. Thanks for joining me on this adventure filled with lots of AI players, and BC learning a little bit more about blood hunting. Till next time, take care. Goodbye.